Welcome into the Cris Collinsworth podcast, starring Richard Sherman and presented by our great friends at DraftKings. If you go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code PFF when you sign up, and you bet $4. That's all. You bet $4. How hard can it be? You win $256 on any college basketball underdog. Pick one underdog. You bet $4. You win $256. Every game is an upset in college basketball. Last second shot, you can pick one. Believe me, that's going to be fantastic. What an opportunity that is going to be. Today, we have a fantastic show. Richard and I had to divide and conquer a little bit because our schedules just couldn't quite align. But it means you guys are going to get a real treat. We saved the best for last. Richard Sherman is going to be joined by his current teammate, Trent Williams. Of course, Richard's probably gone somewhere, and free agent Trent Williams is probably going to be gone somewhere else. But Trent Williams was the highest graded left tackle in all of football, according to PFF, last season. And they talked about Trent's free agent decision to come, Kyle Shanahan working out with Adrian Peterson, the freakiest athletes they ever played with. And Trent even tells Richard Sherman where he would like to see him play as they go back and forth on free agency. But first, we are getting into draft season, and I'm going to talk about the quarterback class with the man behind the PFF NFL draft guide, the great Mike Renner. This draft guide, completely off the charts. Fred Gaudelli, my great teammate on Sunday Night Football, our producer who used to produce the draft for ESPN for about 10 years, said this is bar none the greatest draft guide that he has ever seen, and just loves it. So if you go to pff.com, you get the Edge or Elite subscription, you can get one of these draft guides too. But you're going to love hearing Mike Renner talking about the quarterback class. This is a quarterback-driven draft this season, and it is fantastic. I will tell you that Mike was unfortunately in the PFF offices that are under construction, soon to be the greatest office building in the history of office buildings. Little hammering going on in the background, but bear with us. Here we go. Draft specialist Mike Renner and I talking about the quarterbacks. I did want to start off, though, as we begin draft season here with PFF's finest. Mike Renner is our go-to guy. He spends all season studying, breaking down all of these guys, and then the rest of us are just parasites off of his work and his draft guide and the whole thing. But Mike, appreciate a few minutes here. We're going to start off. I think this is probably the easiest way to do it, because I think there's a lot of idiots like me that basically haven't even started thinking about the draft until right about now. And so I'm just going to slow it down a little bit. I listen to your guys, you and Austin Gale's 2-for-1 drafts podcasts every single time that you bring one out. But I want to get back to the basics for people who really are just starting the process. So bear with me. I have watched a ton of tape on all these quarterbacks anyway, but what do you think? Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to give you a broad overview of my opinion of this stuff, and then I want you to just pick it apart like crazy. Just tell me how stupid I am on everything. This is what you guys have lived for, the opportunity to completely take free shots and let's just roll with it.
I'll say I do it every Sunday night at home, so this works.
You and everybody else in America. All right, here we go. Everybody knows Trevor Lawrence, okay? And I think that's probably the easiest one. We've seen him in national championship games. Every year he's taken his team to the playoffs. He can run, he can throw. He's 6'6". He's prototype, right? This guy's, he's top of the list. So I was ready to just go, okay, there's Trevor Lawrence and the rest of them. And then I put on Zach Wilson. And I'm like, who is this guy? So he's a quarterback for BYU. He's 6'3". He only weighs 200 pounds, which is, if you want to go what's your concern, that's my concern. But the more I watch this guy, the more I saw Aaron Rodgers. I mean, not that there'll ever be another Aaron Rodgers, but he sort of has that gliding ease of throwing motion, sliding around the pocket, ability to run the ball a little bit. and was just phenomenal watching him play the game. I'm going to start with the separation right there, because in my mind, it's those two, and then I'm ready to get into the rest of them after that. Do you agree with that, or are you still with Trevor Lawrence completely separated?
I'd put Trevor Lawrence kind of in his own category because of the assuredness you feel. Now, if you're talking about just pure talent perspective, what they can do at the quarterback position, yeah, I think it gets a little blurred between him, Wilson. I'd even throw Justin Fields just from a pure talent perspective. But like Trevor Lawrence, what he is doing, what he did throughout his career at Clemson and the way he wins is going to be how you win in the NFL. You know, Zach Wilson, it's easy to fall in love with a lot of that out of the pocket stuff, but the amount that he was doing it at BYU, you're not going to get away with that unless you're Patrick Mahomes, unless you're truly different levels of arm talent. And Zach Wilson, great arm, not any knock on him. It is not Patrick Mahomes level. It's not Brett Favre level yet, but I do kind of like that Aaron Rodgers comparison, because the way Zach Wilson throws and the way he generates torque with that arm and the upper half, and just doesn't need his feet to be set to sling that rock, is very reminiscent of Aaron Rodgers and the way he wins. And I think the interesting thing about Rodgers is no one thought of him coming out of Cal. No one's saying, oh, Rodgers has this, godlike arm, this cannon. That was not his biggest strength. If that was, he goes above Alex Smith in that draft. He was another guy who was skinny coming out of Cal and then gained like 10, 15 pounds of muscle throughout his NFL career, comes in year 3, year 4, and then he has that rocket arm. I think you could see a similar transformation from Wilson when he gets in an NFL weight room, obviously playing, high school football in Utah, going to BYU, probably not the most physically developed, from a weight room perspective. When he does get in an NFL weight room, you could see his arm even get stronger and get some more of that zip on his passes at the next level.
Yeah, it's so interesting for me because, you want to go, okay, what's the flaw in my mind with Trevor Lawrence? I think the flaw with Trevor Lawrence is he can overstride a little bit and he can sail it sometimes. Not a lot, but just enough to where, if he would tighten that up, and the ones where he really doesn't take the big, long stride and he's more of that hip whip kind of thrower, usually he's dead on the money. So it's not, I think he'll be coached out of it. Zach Wilson, I was really, maybe it's just the Aaron Rodgers little flick of his arm. His arm just always seems so lively to me. And I saw a little bit of that in Zach Wilson. So we'll see. I honestly, I can't wait to see if he ends up being what I think he can be in this league. My opinion, they'll go 1-2. And I think it's pretty clear cut, at least in my mind. And I think the other thing that's really interesting about this draft is that the New England Patriots are in play here, right? They're going to have to get a quarterback out of this mix somehow. But nobody if I've got this right, the Jets are 2 and Miami Dolphins are 3. So there's nothing that anybody is going to do that's going to talk the Jets or the Dolphins into giving the Patriots a quarterback in one of those 2 possible positions coming up. But we now have to move to Justin Fields. And you talked about the talent level, and I talked about the talent level. My opinion of watching him, he's the most talented guy out of all of them. That physical talent, that he is a tank running the ball. I mean, he's as good as anybody I've ever seen take off and run it from a power standpoint. I mean, obviously he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not like that. Some of his runs were spectacular. His throws are on the money, and they are flashy and big time. But somehow there seems to be just a little disconnect between when he sees it and when it gets out of his hands, or his ability to go to receivers 2 and 3.
Yeah, he's just inconsistent with that. And that's going to be an issue at the NFL level. Like, it's something he's going to have to overcome. It's not like a death knell. It's not saying it's not something that can ever be fixed. And I think some of that is the Ohio State offense and the way it was set up. He's having to basically read wide receiver routes down the field. Like, wide receivers are making choice routes to where, and you go back to that Clemson game back in his, I guess that was his sophomore year, the one they lost, the interception he throws at the end of the game. It's a choice route where the wide receiver could have gone to the post or he could have gone to the corner. He throws the post early. wide receiver goes to the corner. A lot of times I think that made him almost gun shy in throwing routes like that until he saw them down the field because of that, because he doesn't want to make those big mistakes and be on the wrong page with his wide receivers. So I do think some of that will be cleaned up at the NFL level, but there are definitely concerns on his tape with just how quickly he plays. And that's why I said about the assuredness of Trevor Lawrence. He plays at an NFL speed that you have to play with in terms of getting the ball out of his hands. Justin Fields, his average time to throw well over 3 seconds, his average time to throw over against blitz well over 3 seconds. That doesn't fly in the NFL. And so he's going to have to play, he's going to have to play a vastly different game than we did at Ohio State once he gets to the league. And he's not going to be surrounded by this, offensive line with multiple NFL starters. I guess there are going to be NFL stars, but offensive line that has this massive advantage, wide receiver core that has this massive advantage. He's going to go to a vastly lesser situation once he gets to the league. And so all those things kind of worry you more so than they do those top two guys, in my opinion, at least, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I keep picturing Justin Fields in a Shanahan kind of offense, right? The Rams, the 49ers, now the Jets, the Packers, one of those offenses that if you could get an outside zone running game going and then bootleg and play action off of it, particularly bootleg with him, what defensive end is going to get him on the ground, backside, one-on-one, even if he's fully committed? I mean, some of his spin moves into the end zone were spectacular.
Yeah. He chased down his running back last year to throw a block, Trey Sermon. He chased him down from behind. I can't remember exactly which game it was, but that's the kind of speed we're working with. He's 225, probably going to run the 4.5s. At least he did coming out of high school. And I think that's the other thing is back in high school, it's like he was considered on par with Trevor Lawrence. He beat Trevor Lawrence at Elite 11 back in high school. This guy has been that guy for so long that is another guy I kind of think gets overthought because of that, where, it's easy he's been rumored as top 3 pick since his freshman year at Georgia and then transferring to Ohio State, that you poke every hole in his game possible instead of just appreciating the amazing things that he does. And I like what you said there about the Shanahan scheme. I think if he goes to a place that's going to utilize his rushing ability and what, Shanahan did with Robert Griffin way back in 2012 and just his running ability, if he goes to a scheme that's going to do that, he could be the rookie of the year. He could be better than all these guys right out of the gate because of how much easier that makes your life at the NFL level.
Yeah, I just keep thinking, could that mean that he could go too? You know what I mean? Because that's what they're going to run with the Jets. Does that mean he could go? And I don't think that's an absolute no-brainer right there because of the physical talents that guy has. Speaking of physical talents, Trey Lance, and there's no doubt this guy is pretty special with all that he can do. Basically set out last year. What was the exhibition or whatever game he played in that they? What was that?
Just made no sense. Like they cared so much about COVID, they canceled the season, but then still practiced every day and played a game.
I mean, it was like, and it didn't look anything like his tape from the year before.
Not, yeah.
But you can see, what he could be. I mean, physically, everybody's going to go, all right, could he be Patrick Mahomes, right? Patrick Mahomes didn't look like Patrick Mahomes does now when he was playing in college. He was a loose cannon kind of a player. So could Trey Lance be that? I didn't think he was quite as accurate as some, that I've seen coming out. There was a little bit on occasion of Kaepernick's kind of 3/4 throwing motion, which I think can cut down on accuracy. But man, there were some flashy special plays. I thought he was a really top end runner. Between the two, I probably would have taken Justin Fields first, though.
Yeah, I think they're kind of on par in terms of their rushing ability. And I think you'd maybe lean Lance in that regard because he's done it more. Like that was a big part of that North Dakota State offense. He went for over 1,000 yards in that 1 year that he did start for them. But the accuracy is the thing with him in the throwing motion. He does dip it, and it actually cost him in that Central Arkansas game. He dipped a little bit on a release and he fumbled. It got knocked out of his hand. So that's something that you would rather not have. I'm not sure you're going to clean it up at this point because of who he is and how strong his arm is. But I think he's a guy that's going to have to sit out the gate. Like you don't necessarily want to throw him to the Wolves. I think if you throw him to the Wolves, it's going to look like what Josh Allen looked like year 1 and year 2, which was just not really good. Like that was the case. He's going to have to develop. And the interesting thing was his accuracy numbers so far below the top group in this class. All the other top 4 guys, the kind of the universal guys in this class. But they were very similar to Josh Allen's coming out of Wyoming. Like that is kind of if you're buying in on what Trey Lance could be, you're looking at Josh Allen and saying, this is an athlete that came out super under recruited, 2-star, 1-star, whatever. No one knew about him. Has already gained something like 30 pounds since he got to North Dakota State. Has already completely transformed who he was coming out as a high school player in a year and a half to now 3 years later. What could he be in 4 years? What could he be in 5 years? Because he's the youngest of this group too. He's only, I think, 20 or about to turn 21, or maybe just turned 21. He is youngest of this group of top quarterbacks. What could he be when he is, as old as Mac Jones or as old as Joe Burrow was when he came out?
Yeah. And finally, Mac Jones. I've got to say, I rode the roller coaster on him. When I first put on the tape, excuse me, I was going, what is it that people don't like about this guy? Because, he can stand in the pocket. He clearly, after watching some of the other guys who didn't have his ability to read defenses, you're talking about a guy who has that skill set. I mean, clearly he had some unbelievable talent at wide receiver. Devontae Smith, I had fun. Jalen Waddle, I had fun watching him. Whoever number 8 is, I think he's a freshman or something, making plays up and down the field. I mean, they just had great talent and really just drive some of those deep hooks that they loved in there. And he probably threw more deep balls than anybody in the history of college football with that receiving crew that he had. So, but I kept thinking New England was my over-under with him. Like some of the traits, I don't want to compare him to Tom Brady. That's stupid. But some of the traits of a Tom Brady, he's not, he can run better than Brady can, but he's not going to be a runner. He's an in-pocket, move around, make throws, read the defense. If you had a good team and you wanted to go the route of, let me just stick a young quarterback who I don't have to pay a bunch of money
away,
to.
guys.
Everybody else is now paying $40 million for a quarterback. I'm going to get him in the middle of the first round somewhere and stick him in there and then just build out all this talent around him. Is he the kind of guy that could take you the distance?
That's the thing I go back and forth at. It's like he could.
I do too. I hear you. I know.
Kirk Cousins. Like he could very well be Kirk Cousins early on in his NFL career and could be a guy who can run your offense if you have a talented offense around him. He could efficiently run it. You're not going to chase high end. Like it would very much surprise me if he's ever considered a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That would floor me just with the physical tools he's bringing to the table. And honestly, like he had all these downfield passing numbers. When you go back and watch the throws, it's not too enthused about him. Whereas, Joe Burrow, not a strong arm, but you watch some of his downfield passes and you're like, that is an absolute dime. That is not completed unless he puts that ball where it is. Mac Jones, on the other hand, thrown into windows that are, I'm hitting 40 yards down the field sometimes. So it's a big difference in that regard, but he is like, he can manipulate safeties already. He is super accurate with the ball underneath. And I think you can design an offense that maybe it's not, like I said, maybe it's not going to be a top 5 quarterback. Maybe you're not going to be the super elite guy, but on a rookie deal, when you can save yourself $30 million versus what you're going to have to pay Kirk Cousins, what are you going to have to pay pretty much any quarterback now because of the Dak Prescott deal? That's 3 quality starters you can add to your roster that you wouldn't be able to if you didn't have that guy. That should be worth probably a first-round pick. That should be worth a top 10 to 15 pick then at that point.
It's so intriguing, and especially in this year where the salary cap is going to be even lower. It may save you from cutting a few star players. I mean, it really could. So, Mike, as always, tremendous. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones. Just get used to it. This is going to be the story of the draft this season. And if you want all the information that we have, you can go and buy PFF's Edge or Elite subscription, and you're going to get Mike Renner's draft guide that Fred Godelli, who used to run the draft for ESPN's our producer on Sunday Night Football for the entirety when I was there, said it's the greatest single draft document that's ever been created. He watched the draft with your draft guide last season. He absolutely couldn't believe it, and he's one of the most prepared guys I've ever seen in my life. So, Mike, thank you, pal. Appreciate it. We'll get you back on as we get closer.
Oh, for sure, Chris. Thanks.
You got it. All right. Well, the great George Chahrouri got to sub in for me and be a part of the conversation with Richard Sherman and Trent Williams. How cool was that?
It was kind of surreal, man, honestly. I obviously didn't do you justice. I tried to stay out of the way as best I could. And I got to be honest with you, the conversation, as you'll hear it starts so organically. Richard and Trent are obviously good friends. And they just started talking about the gym that Trent Williams is working out in. He and Adrian Peterson like co-own a gym. So that's how the conversation starts. And it takes off from there. I said maybe 5 sentences. It was an awesome conversation.
Some of your best work, I'm sure. So
yes.
All right, we're going to get to that in just a second. I can't wait to hear it either because didn't get to hear it the first time around. But first, we have to tell you about the awesome promo DraftKings Sportsbook is having, America's top-rated sportsbook. Any new customer that uses promo code PFF when they sign up is getting a chance. I love this thing. Chance to bet $4 on any college basketball underdog for a chance to win $256. Even I can pick out one underdog in every tournament weekend. So, George, how hard can it be?
It honestly can't be that hard. Find the shortest underdog, 1 point underdog, as you mentioned before the show, and then pick them. And then, Chris, I recommend that you go bet draft props, and you do so early. And if you go to DraftKings, you can find Mac Jones, who you and Mike Renner talked about. Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think Mac Jones will get picked in the first 17 picks in this draft?
I do.
Okay. Well, if you go to DraftKings Sportsbook, you might be able to bet on that particular thesis and a bunch more. Eric and I talk about this far too often, as you can tell, but DraftKings has you covered. Go download the app, use the promo code PFF, bet $4, win $256, go spend it on draft props and enjoy yourself. It's only on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Michigan only. New customers are the only ones that are eligible. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
How hard can it be? That's my tribute. I've said it 4 times already to Steve Palazzolo. I love that saying. He says it. How many times does he say it every show? How hard can it be? So there you go, Steve. We've got, all right, it's time for the main attraction. We were like the prelims, now for the big fight, the championship fight. Here we go. Richard Sherman and his teammate and free agent as well, the great left tackle, Trent Williams.
So I didn't realize that you and AP both own that gym that I was working out at.
Yeah.
How's that been?
So it was our 6-year partnership. So, I mean, it's been pretty good. Honestly, it gives me a place that I can go perfect my craft, and, I can do it when nobody's watching. I can work out at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, so it gives me a lot of flexibility to try to improve myself over the summer.
Well, both of y'all freak athletes and do crazy stuff. I think I saw you jumping on boxes and all that last year. What's some of the craziest stuff you've seen him do in that gym?
Oh, man, we used to have to so we've been working with the same trainer for like 11 years now. Yeah. So I've seen Adrian. I didn't do it, honestly. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. But we had to bear crawl down the fire escape and back.
What?
Backwards. Yeah.
What kind of deal y'all got going?
Hey, look, that was my reaction when he said that. I'm like, what? And AD didn't even take a second to think. Before I know it, he was already on all fours. And I mean, it wasn't like it was just one flight. Like, it was like a flight, then a little plateau, and another flight. It wasn't like, man, I ain't gonna lie. I had a whole different respect for him after I seen him do that. We make too much money to be on our hands and knees on the fire escape. So.
Right. And he just like, all right, get this workout done.
He just did. He want to make sure he the first one to finish anything. So he ain't gonna question nothing. As soon as he get the orders, he gone.
I ain't mad at that. I didn't hear crazy stories about him running miles and just being a freak. But
Yeah, he's a freak for sure.
I saw this workout, Rich. I was trying to find some crazy ones. So he posted this. He said it's a 7-mile routine. I want to know, Trent, if you've done this with him.
No,
7 miles.
I don't even know what it is, but I can tell you I didn't do the 7-mile routine.
He says first mile. Rich, tell me if you want to do this later. 7 miles. First mile speed is 6 miles per hour. Second mile he runs at 9, and then for the next 5 he alternates laps between 6.5 and 12. For the next
12
for the next 20.
Hey, no, I didn't see him doing that before. I walked in and seen him doing that before, so I can attest to that. He damn sure do that.
What am I running a mile at 12 miles an hour?
Yeah, nah.
He wild.
Yeah, he built different, man. You can't teach that type of stuff. You can't coach it either. It's either in you or it ain't.
Let me ask you guys real quick. Who like Adrian Peterson is on that freak list? You guys have obviously seen him. Like, who else would you put on that list with freakiest athletes you've either played with or against, or even worked out with or against?
Marshawn, D-Jack.
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald. D-Jack, just for his speed. He is one of the fastest, like chill fast. Like dumb, ridiculous. I could just beat you right now in slippers and just go about my day, and I'm not going to stretch. Kind of fast.
It's kind of unexplainable.
It's really ridiculous. And he don't look like he's going that fast, but he's really moving.
Yeah, he
really
moving. Yeah.
I didn't play with Eric. Bobby Wagner.
Oh, yeah, B-Wag. Shit.
Earl.
Julio.
Ooh, Quintoris. That boy is.
No one uses his name like that. I like that.
Yeah, he always get mad when I use it.
Yeah, hey, you know what? I don't know about on the level of freakish athleticism, but like Debo, one of my favorite players too, because I feel like he possessed something that I don't really see in a lot of people. And I told him that my first week there, and I ain't even watching. I was watching last year's clip, and I'm like, bro, I ain't never seen nothing like that.
It's something you definitely never see in receivers. Like sometimes you see it in running backs, but he just like a hunter for contact, and he always thinks he's getting through it. Like he's not hunting just to run you over. Like he's hunting because I think I'm gonna run you over and I'm gonna keep going.
But he got contact balance out of this world. I ain't really seen no like Alvin Kamara and like Emmitt Smith is like two people with like contact balance who can like literally run through 4 or 5 men and like come out of it for some still on their feet. Like I don't know how they do it, but it's like remarkable.
But it's like they mass. Like I don't know. You know how some people built different. Like 100. So one person could be 200 pounds, the other person be 200 pounds, but it feel like one of them is like a wall, and the other one is like flimsy. He's one of those walls. That's how Marshawn was. Marshawn is like running into a moving car. I promise you. Like you better just take the impact, and then if you block the impact, you just like wrestle it down.
Yeah, he's something to deal with. It's like Debo almost like a Marshawn in the receiver body almost.
100%. Bro, some of the stuff I saw him do last year, I mean this year, some of the stuff he's been doing is just like I can see why Kyle, like he gonna cause a problem. He like Percy was, but with more of a like big body.
Like he that's exactly what he reminded me of, like a Percy Harvin. I told him, I said, I ain't really seen a receiver with the ball, like be that effective with the ball in their hands since Percy. And like I said, he was, and he trust me, he took my national championship hopes away from me. Like he snatched them out of our hands. So I personally watched him dominate, and then he went to Minnesota where obviously Adrian was. So I watched him dominate with Adrian. It's like, man, I ain't never seen nothing like this dude. Like, and Debo is kind of he kind of puts me in that mind. Like they both sneaky fast. Like, I mean, obviously we expect Percy to be fast, but you wouldn't think Debo running like he running because, as hard as he is to bring down, you wouldn't think he can run away from people like he can. But
if they wasn't having him run miles and miles during training camp and stuff, that boy could be doing some crazy stuff. But they always got to try to, we got to find a different way to keep his weight down. But
yeah. Now he dealt with them injuries, man. It's crazy because he was working out with us last year. you know, and this was before I even went to San Fran, like, you know, or we got traded to San Francisco. You know, he was there with us training almost the whole summer. He went to go run routes, and then he broke his foot. And then it's kind of like, but before he left, he was like, I didn't even know him to be like, you know, hard to, not lazy or whatever, but you know, I didn't know him to be wanting to let his weight creep up, or if you think he had trouble keeping his weight down. I couldn't tell, because when the only time I seen him, he was in tip-top shape, and he was like at the top of the group, leading the group, you know what I'm saying, competing, working hard. Like, you know, he was programmed in to like have a amazing sophomore year. And obviously the injuries, which nobody can control, but you know, I definitely want to see how he comes back with 6, 7, 8 months to just train and get his body where he wanted to be. With him knowing what to expect from the NFL game now, I think this can be one of them years where he, you know, first Pro Bowl year type stuff, you know.
100%. Von Miller and is one of them too.
Von Miller.
Oh, yeah, Von.
Is that
Alden too? If y'all seen Alden, woo, like even now, man, he's something to deal with. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's some freakish athletes out there. They sprinkled in, but
Hey, Trent, I saw that you ran a 4.8 40. So you got to put your – I was looking at some of your combine numbers, like, holy shit.
He might be faster than that.
Yeah, I probably got a little faster.
Right. And Trent Brown, one of the freaks too. Like,
yeah,
way too big to be able to move the way he moves.
Yeah, and with you saying that, then Mekhi Becton is kind of like the new coming. He kind of like what Trent Brown could have been if he, you know, had whatever he needed previously before he got to the NFL. But like Mekhi Becton is like, they like carbon copies of each other. You know, like they both, like he's freakish. Like to be that big, to be that fleet of foot, and to be that mean and powerful when you get your hands on people. You know, as a rookie, I ain't gonna lie, I was excited to watch him, and I'm excited to see how his career pans out.
It's crazy. People don't understand how different the NFL is than any other sport. Like basketball, you got some size disparities, but they never have to have a physical like collision. Like you have a physical collision between a dude who's 5'8", 160, and a dude who's 6'6", 340. And it can happen on a regular play, and nobody even notices. He could just walk through a dude and nobody even bat an eyelash at the play. Like, that's how crazy this sport is. Like, it's...
Yeah. Nah, it is crazy. It's a premium on big guys who can chase down little guys.
Right. You done made a living off of it. I done found a way to avoid some of them. KK is a freak on the low. People don't...
Yeah, he is. He is. He's so smart, man.
K1 Williams?
Yeah, K1 Williams.
Yeah,
he's a difference maker. I ain't gonna lie, having you and him in there at the same time, the defense is like, I mean, it's almost impeccable. Hang on, like it's as an offense, you just sit over there like, man, dang, we only got 3 plays to rest. Dang.
So what you feeling like coming into Frisco the way you did after you know overcoming the injury, overcoming you know the life-threatening cancer and dealing with that, and you came in and you dominated, really didn't miss a beat. How did you feel like the culture change, you know, from Washington to San Francisco affected not only just your performance, but just your everyday, you know, thought process and happiness?
I honestly, man, I think it made the world of difference for me, you know, to be a place where I'm very comfortable with people that I'm very comfortable with, but also in a very uncomfortable situation. So I think those circumstances kind of made me, which I never doubted, you know, if I was a man or not, or if I was maturing the right way. But I feel like if there was any questions about my character, I feel like this situation proved to me, I mean, not only to anybody else, but more importantly myself, that, you know, I belong, and that, you know, God made me strong enough to overcome a lot of things, which I think a lot of people probably wouldn't. So, you know, I'm grateful for the the organization, San Francisco, like, welcomed me with opening arms and, spending that extra time to kind of get me up to beat, and the team, you guys accepted me, welcome me open arms. So that meant a lot, man. It kind of coming from where I didn't have that camaraderie for a whole year, and to get back and, with a lot of people who I, for the most part, didn't know other than a few guys, but for everybody to treat me like I've been around for years, I think it was very conducive to me, being a good player this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see when you first came in the locker room. It was like you didn't miss a beat. Everybody, there was a couple of us who knew you. The ones that didn't, I think that was the cool part about that culture. It was just family. It was just like, hey, come on in, like just get right on the train. What do you think about Kyle and that offense and just the way he thinks the game makes him so special? Because there's so many people running the same system. So many people like, inside zone, outside zone, play action and think, oh yeah, I'm doing what Kyle's doing, but it don't work like that. It ain't working like Kyle.
You're right. It's just like getting two race car drivers and putting them in the same car. It don't mean you're gonna get the same results. It's all about decision making. When to shift gears, when to not shift gears. So I think that's what made Kyle different. He's been around this game his entire life, and he hadn't just been around it as a, from a bird's eye view. He's actually been on the sidelines with championship teams, with all-time great quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends. So, and he learned under one of the best coaches, that we've seen, and Mike Shanahan, his dad. So I think he has a little advantage on guys, when it comes to people running his same system. They don't have the, I ain't gonna say smarts or whatever, but I just say he has that play calling and knowing how to set defenses up and giving you the same look twice but two different plays. He has that. I mean, I've never seen anybody like it. I've been around, watched some of the best coaches. I've been around the game a long time, and I still haven't seen anybody to kind of rival his in-game play calling and game planning. Right.
I'd agree. That man, I mean, Wizard. I done seen him set everybody. I've seen him set me up.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man.
Trent,
but,
you had him in Washington too, right?
I did have him in Washington.
Has he compare Washington Kyle to San Francisco Kyle?
You know what? When it comes to personality-wise, it's literally no different. Like he didn't change at all. Like he's the same person that I remember walking into the meeting 11 years ago with Jordan shorts on, and like I'm looking like, damn, offensive coordinator got Jordan shorts. Like that's the first for me, He ain't wearing team issue khakis or something. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe take notice. And I mean, he's literally the same person 10, 12 years later. It just, the maturity, the confidence in calling games, then he was just offensive coordinator with, I ain't gonna lie, he had the confidence that you would thought he was Don Shula, but, I think now he has that confidence and he has that track record to back it up. So I just think Kyle is just, he's the same person, just a little more confident. And I mean, with he got the right to be. He put a lot of work in with his developing his system, developing the coaches around him. So, I think he's just a mature person, more mature person than I've seen, more confident person than I've seen a few years ago, or about a decade ago.
Yeah, he don't give a damn in those meetings. Yeah. I ain't never seen a coach like that. I've only played with a couple, but Pete, had such a different philosophy and just, so regimented. He gonna tell the same stories. He gonna be the same every time. You don't know what you're gonna get with Kyle. You go in a meeting. Kyle's gonna be sitting there. He gonna go through his Monday plan, his Wednesday plans, whatever. But it's gonna be, straight from the heart, straight real, no script, script. And that's what I was. I loved him as a coach.
Yeah, I think Kyle one of the people who can make you run through a brick wall. You know what I'm saying? Just because of, he's so honest and he's so transparent with everything he says, everything he does. Like, especially with, like you said, you've been around the game. I've been around the game. You don't get that type of transparency from the top. I mean, and it's nothing against anybody. It's just they don't have to. They don't owe it to you to be transparent. So when you get a coach that can be transparent and still have the same respect for his players, and the players, reciprocate that, I think it speaks volume as to who he is as a person.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
So this year, throughout the year, I felt like you got better, each game. I felt like you got more comfortable, got your confidence back. You was dominating from the first game when you tried to kill old buddy. I knew from then, I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna have trouble dealing with this boy this year. And we talked throughout the year, but now you finally, for the first time, I believe, you get to hit free agency, and I believe you're the top free agent in the market right now, by all accounts. So how does that feel? Like, what's your mindset going into it? I know it's it's an exciting time. It's like, man, finally I get to test it, and it's coming off a great year. Some people get to come off a rough year or kind of beat up. You coming off a rested year, great year. So your legs is back. Tell me how you feeling.
Man, I'm feeling blessed. I work, man, Rich, if I could tell you how many nights I sat in that gym, dog, and like how many mornings where it was just so tough to get out of bed because I done went way too hard in the gym. I done been in there with all those hearing the criticism and the doubts on, everybody just doubt me. So I'd go in there and basically just work myself till I couldn't move anymore. I just did that time and time again. And I ain't gonna lie, it was some days where I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't really know how it would end up for me. I was so far removed from the game, and the NFL didn't stop. Sundays, game day started. It wasn't just because I wasn't there, it didn't stop anything. So I was just like, man, I got to catch up. I always felt like I was out of the loop. I felt like I was just, kind of just washed out to the side and just forgot about. So I think that just kind of fueled me, man. And then I never a spot where I got comfortable. I felt like, it was always, or I was always reaching for more. It was always I did good, but I could do better. I think going after that year, it gave me a hunger that I couldn't satisfy with one game. I couldn't satisfy with one practice. I had to just keep chugging away. Cause I'm like, nah, this is what y'all said I couldn't do this. Y'all said I wouldn't be this. I said I wouldn't be that. So long story short, man, to sit here and we done had plenty of talks in the locker room where, it wasn't all peaches and cream. Getting back into it after a year off is tough. And I think anybody tell you it's not, they lying to you, So there were times where I doubted myself, but like great locker room, great atmosphere, man. And it just brought me through. And, just looking at it now, we a week away from me kind of knowing what my value is. I think it was all worth it, man. I wouldn't change anything about what I went through. I'm blessed. I appreciate God for bringing me through. I thank him for that every day. But, for the most part, man, I'm excited. I'm happy that all my hard work paid off, and I think if I could just put it in the short term, I think I'm just blessed, bro, and really can't say it any different.
Right. That's the part people don't really get, man. Like people think because you came back and you proved it that, oh man, it was, we all knew. It's like nobody knew. I didn't know. Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean? You gonna tell me something I didn't know?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part is that constant battle in your own damn head to say, like, I'm coming back better. But then you be like, I'm not coming back better. Like, my leg hurt today. My knee hurt today. My back hurt today. Like, is my back gonna hurt out there? Or is these boys gonna go out here and abuse me? Because I can't see it right now.
Right.
And the fact that you persevered through that, the fact that you pushed through, still put your best foot forward, stepped out on that field, and was able to accomplish the unknown,
Yeah.
And sometimes it ignites another fire up under you. That's what it did when I tore my Achilles, because I had to miss the year. And it's like you almost get not complacent, but it's like you get regimented. You're so routine. You like, man, I'm going to dominate. Like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm almost bored with it. And then something happens, and then it's like your appreciation level, like, it's through the roof now. It's like you took everything from me, and now I got to appreciate every moment of the journey. I got to appreciate the good, the bad, the locker room, the conversations, the tired, the fatigue, the anxiety. You appreciate all of it. So I appreciate, because people don't understand that. People think we're not people,
Right. Yeah.
I want to remind everyone that the Niners traded a third and a fifth and got PFF's highest graded left tackle. Like no one knew, clearly, or they could have gotten more than a third for the best left tackle. And Rich, you were the highest graded cornerback, last year, coming off of that Achilles injury. So it really is a testament to when you get reignited now, if you put in the work, you can get back to that level. Well, I always thought people assumed with, and especially in the NFL, it's like, you have an injury or you have an off year, it's all downhill from there.
Well, it's just a certain caliber player. You know what I mean? Like, he's a different caliber player. It's not everybody can do that. There's people that take a year off, take a week off, and never get back to what they was at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's a testament, and it's almost like we used to talk about this in the locker room. It's like that year off gave him more years on the back end because he didn't have a year of getting beat to hell. Body got to refresh. Heal finally, all the nagging injuries, all the small stuff got to heal up, got to rest. His mind got to reset.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people, I ain't gonna lie, I took for granted because I'm such a man's man, thinking like emotions and stuff don't matter, but like the emotional turmoil that they're like having to sit there in that doctor's office and they tell you dying and like, at the age of 30. Like, that's kind of like hard to imagine, but just the mental anguish that kind of put on me, which is a little more than just physical, because your brain is the strongest thing in your body. So it's like, I was mentally defeated at a point where I didn't think there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I thought I came to the end of the road. So, to like get that refreshment and like, I'm gonna be okay. I get another shot at life. I mean, it's definitely overwhelming and, it's a blessing, but, it's hard to ignore those times where you couldn't sleep and times you couldn't eat because, I'm thinking, I ain't even gonna watch my kids grow up, so it was kind of that, like, I think that had a lot more to do with me pushing through than it did physical, having the year off. I think mentally, like, just walking down that tunnel again and like feeling that excitement again, like, at that point, it didn't even matter how much I was getting paid. It was like, because I remember when I didn't think that was ever going to happen again. Right. So it gave me a different, like you said, it gave you a different appreciation. But, I think fighting through that mental part was the biggest obstacle, in my opinion.
And I think mental health is one of the biggest things people are talking about nowadays because we always been taught not to speak about it. Like, just like you said, be a man's man. Like, no, I'm tough. Like, you ain't nothing mentally wrong with me. Like, when seriously you breaking down and you don't know your next move. And I think you opening up and me opening up and us opening up about these conversations is going to help some kid that's struggling with it right now. That's
right.
Like, man, I don't know which way to go, and I got to just tough this out. No, you ain't got to tough this out. Like, we all go through this. You're going to get through it eventually, just keep fighting.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think, so going into free agent, you're the top free agent. You could fit in any scheme. You could fit in any system. What's like your preferred, not destination, because I don't want to pin, corner you into saying, oh, I'm going to this team, but like scheme. Like, would you want to be in that inside zone, outside zone, Kyle Shanahan type scheme? Because that puts you in a couple of different places, or a power running scheme, or you just don't care. I want to go to a contender, get the respect I deserve and have a shot at the championship.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of all of that. It's a nice gumbo. I think you want to be on a team that you feel like has a chance to compete and win every Sunday. You definitely want to feel appreciated and valued and get your worth. That's also important. I think it's a mixture of all of that. I think I think I was kind of like, I'm an anomaly when it comes to being in Cal's system, because usually guys that's athletic are not as strong, and guys that are strong are not as athletic. So with me having and the size, with me having a mixture of all three, size, strength, and athleticism, I think it makes me, it gets Cal to the point where he can literally, game plan around me in that system, because, as well as I know, all it takes is one person to get out of the gap. And if you have a lineman who you think can always win the gap and can show you that he can win the gap, I think it's easier to kind of set plays up off of banking on that person being successful. So, I think Cal's system kind of like, I think it kind of puts me on display a little bit more than a lot of the other systems. But, I played in the power running system with Coach Callahan and the power, the duo, the 2 double teams, no puller. That's a strictly power inside zone type of scheme. And we was very successful in doing that as well. So, I have, I know that I can do both. I think the difference is Cal's system kind of puts that flashiness and athleticism on display more so than any other thing.
Right. I mean, obviously, the faithful would prefer you to stay and, work it out. It doesn't always work out like that. So we ain't going to promise them nothing, but, I'm sure you're having conversations with them. What other teams has your agent had conversations that have reached out and talked to him about, kind of acquiring your services and you actually?
Yeah, right now, technically they can't reach out to him. So it's like, we don't really know. We kind of know what makes sense. We know probably who would be looking, in that field. But you don't really know specifically. Like nobody called and said, hey, we lined up, And even if they did, he probably, it's something he would probably hold close to his chest so that nobody got any tampering violations. So, personally, I don't know. I kind of know what teams, what kind of makes sense. We got a vacancy at left tackle, but, I'm not sure.
One just came up. The Raiders just traded Trent.
I know. I seen that.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
For a 5 and got back a 7. I'm like damn.
Really?
Yeah, they traded him for a 5, and then apparently George said they restructured his deal to a 1-year, $11 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Patriots are going thrift store shopping right now.
That's the way they go though. That's how they do. They didn't want to pay him the first time, so they sent him to Oakland.
Right, and then got him back at a discount.
Yeah.
Them boys, they find a way every time. But it's crazy. Like with the cap the way it is, you got to be careful. You know what I mean? Like we talked about this. You got to be careful because you still got to get your value. I don't give a damn what the cap is. Right. Like even if it's a $220 million cap, like your value of a number 1 starting tackle in this league that actually got to free agency. You're not on an extension. You're not tied to them. They can't franchise you. So what are you looking for in this deal? Are you looking for like a 1 year? Or are you looking for a long term? Like this is going to be your last deal and we're going to ride off into the sunset? What's your mindset?
I'm thinking this would be a longer deal. I mean, not longer, but 4 or 5 year deals. When I'm probably looking at. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm 32 now. Be 33 in July. I feel like I could play at a high level well into my 30s. Maybe early 40s. I don't know. I ain't gonna make no promises, but I definitely think I got one good one. I ain't gonna say this is my last one because at the end of the year, at the end of this contract, I could be 37. And I could be the same age as Jason Peters was a couple years ago, and they might still want me to come and and play left tackle. Somebody might want me to play left tackle for him, so I wouldn't X out that possibility. But I'm definitely poised for another, in my opinion, 6 seasons that I know I can be, play at a high level. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Most of the great left tackles right now have been able to play. I mean, Whitworth was still going. To last year, I think he's 40. Dwayne,
he coming back this year. I think Whitworth is
right, and Dwayne's still going. What is Dwayne? 36, 37?
37, 36 or 37. I know Jason Peters, he said he want to go to at least 40, 41, I think 42, I think is what he said.
And what did Joe go to?
Joe just, he ain't even played. He ain't really just maxed it out.
Ride it out all the way.
Yeah,
he went straight to TV.
He got him a gold jacket and just went on ahead and got on the TV set.
Right. Which is what you about to do. Well, I don't know if you got the real estate and all that.
Rich, it sounds like the key is if you have your own gym. You see Tom Brady over there in Tampa. He's got the TB12 all over the place, right? He's going to play till he's 50. And Trent and Adrian Peterson, their gym is going to be the most popular gym in the nation, both of them are never going to stop playing football.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm down. I talked to Adrian, and I can see it in his eyes. He dead ass serious, but he said, I mean, I think going to 40 is well within his grasp, and I think he back in there. Like, I mean, he started training, a couple weeks ago. He's back locked in. Like, it's kind of scary to see him with him on a mission, because he's been a Heisman hopeful since a freshman. He's been everything that he's ever wanted to be in the football world, for the last 2 decades. So to see him back in the gym and still with that look in his eyes and wanting more, it's kind of scary. I know he's getting older, but it's he's still running the same, still bitching the same as those young cats. And, we'll see.
Right. Talk about that mentality, because a lot of people don't know about that. Just the longevity of playing at a high level, like to do it for a long time. People, they always want to celebrate every new kid that's playing at a high level. They're like, look, he the best. Like, 8 games. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I've done it for 8 years. And it's that recency bias. Like, oh, he the best dude in the game. He the best because he did it for 3 games in a row. You seen him 3 games? And you be like, bro, this is my 9th year doing this.
Yeah.
And so talk about how hard it is to be consistent week in, week out, year in, year out, and what it takes to play against the best pass rushers consistently while they looking at your film, seeing your best stuff, seeing how you adjusted and they adjusted. We talked about Chandler Jones and him being one of the monsters in this league. But, we talked about Alden and how he came back and was still dynamic. Shaq Barrett and all these other pass rushers that you have to adjust for. How is that?
Man, it's, I think especially with offensive line, being consistent is the hardest part of the game, because we got to do it 60, 70 plays in a row, like no recognition, no nothing. Like, you don't even know how good you play until after you go look at the film, and it's like big games where I might look on Twitter and I might grade it out best PFF, but then I go in the O-line room and I graded out one of the worst in their book. And it's like, could be vice versa. I could grade out the worst on PFF and then go and grade out one of the best in the room. So it's like, with offensive line, man, it's like, it's such an eye test. You got to pay attention. You can't look at the paper and say, oh, well, he gave up 3 pressures last week. I know I can get 1. Like, no, you got to look at who he gave them up to, who was the quarterback, what was had they been behind since the second quarter? Was it just a pass-friendly game? Was it 30 passes in a row? Like, it's certain things you got to take into consideration. You can't just say, oh, he got beat deep, so he must not be that good of a corner. Now, like, you don't know whether his safety was there. You don't know whether the coach told him to sit on the underneath route. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same way with cornerback. It's the same way with offensive tackle. It's one of those things you got to pay attention to, and being consistent. That's what makes it so hard, is that you got to be on every little thing, because I could have had a great game using a technique last week and me not pay attention to the guy I'm going up against and think same technique I used last week will work this week, and he's paid attention. He's got a beat on that. So if I go out there and use that technique, I might give up 2 sacks, 4 hurries, and have a terrible game, and so with us, you have no time to celebrate. You can't say, yeah, I scored 4 touchdowns last week. I probably ain't gonna practice the Thursday. I'm chilling. Like, with us, it's like, man, I don't care. You could have just shut down Chandler Jones week before. All right, here comes Khalil Mack. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and with the way not our fan, but just the fan base in the NFL period, is that, yeah, you could have shut down J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones week 1, but Khalil Mack beat you for a strip sack week 2, then you're now the worst lineman in the NFL. So it's kind of like, you knowing all those things, you got to be consistent. You got to be on point, or you won't last. And
what's so similar about our positions is how quick it could go bad. Like one play out of 75 can make you the worst lineman, worst corner in the league. You're like, look, I locked him. He didn't catch the ball the other 74. He got me for him. And now I'm the worst. How does that go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so hard too for those positions to make it up. you know, because we don't see those positive plays as often. Rich, with corners, it's like you lock the guy down, but the video, the TV is focused on the quarterback the whole time.
Right.
You know, and Trent, you may not, if you're never heard from in the entire broadcast, it's probably because you did a good job.
Exactly.
And then we both deal with rotational players. We like, if it's a 15-play drive, I got to play 15 plays. You got to play 15 plays, but the person you go against might play 6, and he gonna be fresh all 6 of them. He not tired. He didn't just do no reps. Every time he feel a little winded, I come back. He go get water and come back and make you deal with him again. And the same is true in wideouts. When we played in the Super Bowl against Denver, they had that hurry up, you know, super high-powered offense, best to ever play, and they started getting tired. And we had literally, because you had 2 weeks to prepare for the Super Bowl, we were running gassers after every practice just to prepare, because we were like, we never coming off the field. Like, you know what I mean? They going to rotate in and out and bring these dudes in and run go routes to tire us out and then bring their dogs back in. Yep. And that's another element that people don't understand. Like, let O-line and DBs never come off the field in the mic. They never. We don't rotate. We don't see a break. Like, if you come off the field, you are hurt, and you better be seriously hurt, because you can't just come back in that rhythm, because they coming at you as soon as you come back. If you'd have been off.
Yeah. And it sucks. I mean, I ain't gonna say it sucks, but like, I mean, I don't think that gets talked about enough. I don't think people understand that enough. And like, I mean, it's like, you know, we'd be at awe when LeBron plays every minute but 2 minutes of an NBA game, you know, but we look at 80 snaps, and you got to think there's only a small percentage of guys who played every snap out of that 80 snaps, you know, and it's tough, man, especially, you know, when you think about Super Bowl, you had 2 weeks to prepare, but how different is week 1 shape than it is week 17 shape, you know, and so it's tough. But on the cornerback, those games are the most pivotal. On the O-line, like you said, they getting tired. They had 2 weeks off essentially, you know, and so as offensive line, as DB, those games are more important for you than I think anybody else, because you're on display, especially with Denver Broncos. Like you said, you got guys running the go route who may have been on practice squad last week, but if you don't guard him the same way you guard Emmanuel Sanders when he run his go route, then you'll give up a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no decoys. It's literally that's what the offense is, what the NFL is, and that's what makes our position so tough.
What I'm hearing is you guys are jacking up your value here.
Right. Well, I wish the league saw it that way, but they don't.
Two free agents. We got to get this word out, right? We're going to put up Trent, Rich, and LeBron, and talk about, you know, the similarities in playing time. One thing
if they pay per play, we'd be making our money.
Yeah,
pay per play.
We damn sure would.
There's more passing too now, right? So like there's all the pass rushers cycling in and out. You know, there's more of the passing game, and as a DB, you know, you're getting more routes down the football field repeatedly. There's like no plays off, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then we ain't even gonna talk about the up kick that's been on offensive holding and defensive pass interference.
Come on now, we can't talk about it. Whenever they want to call it is when they call it. We need to give them a few yards. Go ahead. I got it. Hey, yeah. Speaking of quarterbacks, so unfortunately, you know, boy, Jimmy G was beat up a lot of the year. You know, the whole team was beat up a lot of the year. So you didn't get to play with him as much. You know, obviously he's incredible when he's on the field and makes a huge difference in terms of getting the ball out fast. You know, the dream. How much is the quarterback position going into your decision? You know, about who you play with. You know, obviously you've never got to pick the quarterback you play with throughout your whole career, obviously, you know, for whatever reason. But this time you do. Will that factor in? You know, there are some quarterbacks out there that have played for a long time. There are quarterbacks out there that are rookies. You know, would you play with a rookie? Would you need it to be a veteran, established guy who you've seen have success? Like, what's the thought?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think any team that has a quarterback that we can say, oh, that's a day one starter right now in March, I think that team is ahead of the curve, because getting a quarterback is by far the hardest thing to accomplish in the NFL. So any team right now that has a quarterback that we can pencil in as day one starter, I think you can't really call that a rebuild process because you got the main piece in place, right? If you don't have a quarterback, it's like, who knows how long it'll take to get a Trevor Lawrence or, like these guys aren't just growing on trees. They're not accessible every draft. Like, so I think like a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, I mean, as a rookie, I think he's not going to be like playing with a normal rookie quarterback. I think the type of player he is ahead of the curve. And I think he will be, I think he'll be a dynamic player at the next level just because he has this capability when things don't add up with his eyes, he can use his legs. So I do think like a Jacksonville, people could look at them as a rebuild, but with them getting a quarterback, I think, and that could expedite their success level, and their success rate. I think, by them kind of, like flushing everybody out last few years and getting rid of a lot of, contracts that was coming, a lot of contracts they took on, getting the draft, flexibility in the draft, so you look at that, like that, they went through the rebuild. So now they're about to reap the benefits.
Yeah, they got high draft pick with a quarterback. They got a lot of cap space. And it's about to be a massacre. It's about to be a bloodbath of free agents flooding the market in the next couple of days, because of the cap. So it's one of those situations where they could go from a team that's rebuilding to drafting the franchise quarterback, grabbing a few pass rushers, grabbing some key players, grabbing some protection, and all of a sudden in a division that Tennessee and Indianapolis have kind of dominated, they could be a contender. The AFC kind of can be up for grabs quick if in a year like this where who knows how many high caliber, high profile players would be on the market and be sometimes for a bargain. So they might get 2 or 3 guys for the price of what could have been one guy in a normal year. You know?
I mean, you look at Trent Brown, like you said, just restructuring 1 year, $11 million. I think $11 million probably wouldn't even get you in the top 10 as far as highest paid. But you can't name 10 tackles that's better than him, So, I mean, I think it's prime example of kind of how this year could go. So I think the salary cap is going to be an issue, but it's never an issue it's only an issue when they want it to be an issue.
Right. Talk that talk. Talk to them.
I'm just saying. I mean, when you've been around a long time, you know that. I mean, look at Dallas. Like they've been signing extensions for how long? You see them signing somebody else every year. I mean, they just forked up enough to pay Dak $40 million a year, or $70 million in the first year. So, I mean, it's kind of like it's hard to hear that talk when you see what's going on. It's hard to say, oh, the cap really matter when you see players getting, to me, it's one of those arguments. It's one of those kind of deals that you use in an argument to win the argument. It's not like it's something that you really care about. People, when they want to win, you're gonna do what it takes to get your roster in a position to win, regardless whether it costs you spending your whole salary cap or whatever that is. Most people who care about winning would do that.
Oh, 100%. And that Jerry Jones is king of it. A lot of people think he knows some stuff nobody else knows about the TV contracts, and that's why he's spending like that. That's the rumor that contracts might be bigger than people think, and that might push the cap up. But it's all rumored. Nobody knows anything.
Those TV deals are going to be insane.
I think they will be too. I think they will be because in the virtual world we just went through, everything was through the TV. I know ratings probably was sky high. And I think that could be another negotiating point for the NFL to going forward,
And they got everybody against one another.
Right.
It's like
they're doing so much with like Nickelodeon when they did the Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah.
They went crazy about that. They're doing Amazon. I mean, they're trying to do Netflix. They're trying to do Hulu. Like, it's so many people competing, so the prices don't get jacked up. Obviously, without anybody in the stands, people are going to try to negotiate against that. But this league, they don't. Just like always, they're gonna do what they need to do and hold out and put people against each other and make this money.
This has been great. What I've taken away, Trent, is the San Francisco 49ers, number one on your list. Kyle Shanahan's offense. You want to flex, and that's where we're predicting you're going to go.
Yeah. I got San Francisco. I got him saying in San Francisco. For the faithful. I think he stays in San Francisco. I think he makes you guys happy for another 5-6 years. And gets his gold jacket and then decides whether he wants it in Washington or San Francisco. That's going to be
that's not a bad take, fellas. It's not a bad take. I can, y'all barking up the right tree.
We'll find out in a week, I guess. We'll find out in a week.
Right.
Trent, what's your prediction for Rich?
Man, I ain't gonna lie, man. Rich one of my favorite teammates I ever had, and this giving man his flowers while he's sitting in front of me. Like, I never seen a person with that much range in the people he can relate to from the top to the bottom, with the education he has and the education that he can kind of shine on other people and help us through situations that, we needed help through. Like Rich literally came in handy if it was from the damn casino to the NFL PA to the CBA agreement we signed to when the checks were gonna get cut or like how to invest your 401k. Like, he got it all. So
I appreciate that.
I say all that to say I know any locker room gonna get him to be blessed. I would like to stay in the locker room with him, because I know what he adds to a team, But I think it's gonna be a win now team, which I feel like we was on a win now team. So I Rich, he's so smart. He can go anywhere. He can fit in any locker room. He can blend in with any crowd. So I don't really see. I don't see any limitations with him. I feel like, I don't want to just say a team,
Right.
I know how the faithful is. I'm still holding out hope till he ain't back, that he gonna be back in whatever locker room I'm in, But I don't know. I see, like you said, I think we had some conversation. I can see, I don't even want to say Kansas City, but I can see Kansas City going there and like helping that defensive backfield, not just play on athleticism, but be able to play like different zones, different schemes, and kind of, and I think just the intelligence he's gonna bring to a DB room, he can really blend in anywhere. But I like to see him somewhere where it's nice weather, dog get a good paycheck, not taxes ain't beating him down, and just. I don't know. Let's say Vegas sounds like a good team. I think the Indianapolis Colts case. I think the AFC is a lot of good places over there.
I see what you're getting at.
I'm just, as long as he don't end up back in Seattle, I think I can deal with anything. But I definitely won't want to see him twice a year if I was in San Francisco, because I don't want to see you around
trying to look for me either. I had to have a conversation with Mo when we played Washington. That boy pulled around. I said, "Hey, look, I can tell your knee up right now, or we can walk out together."
Ain't gonna take that route out of bounds, man. Yeah, make a business decision.
Right. That was one of the funniest plays. Right after the play, like, look, I could have got you 2 weeks. But I appreciate you coming on, man. It means a lot to me. I know you got a busy schedule and you got a lot to do, and obviously you've been one of my favorite teammates, one of the best players in this game for a very long time, and gonna continue to be. And like you said, got to give you flowers while you're here. Gold jacket wearer, they gonna give you your respect. We just gotta find a way. All pro voters, y'all gotta look at the tape. This man, yes, y'all not giving him a first team all pro. It is like, come on now, like he put enough viral clips out there. Next year, he's gonna put out teach tape. Give him first team all pro so we can get this gold jacket and they can stop arguing about it.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, I wish you all the luck in the world. We're gonna be chopping it up, obviously, about the process. But I appreciate you coming on. Sorry we couldn't get Cris in here. He had to safety first. Got to get that COVID vaccine.
Hey, you got me.
Right. You got George, who's probably in 35-degree weather with a wife beater on. So
Oh yeah. There you go. It's a man's man right there.
Right. He
man.
obviously did his arms. I don't know what his legs look like.
I gotta go train with Adrian and Trent in
Yeah,
Houston.
man. See the gym
And
a
you
little
don't want
bit.
to train with them. You're gonna learn the difference between how you were built and how
No joke. No joke, Rich. When I worked out this morning, I had looked up Adrian's run workout, and I was thinking about mentally, like, even if I tried to start it,
Right.
like, I don't know if I could even get myself in that position, to run a mile at 12 miles per hour. So there's no way.
No way. Fuck no. Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. You're
got
good.
editing. That's why they freaks. That's why they freaks, man. That's why there's some people in this league that are built totally different than everybody else. There's some people like you, me, where it's like we athletic, we NFL athletic, we NFL athletes, and then you got freaks. And some of them don't always execute their freakiness to get a jacket out of it, and it don't always pan out. But some of the stuff some of these people could do is like, hey, I don't know what lab you came from, but I want to send my genes there and see if they could recalibrate.
With both of them.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh man, great time. It's been great.
This was awesome, guys. I really appreciate both of you.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys, man.
All right. Well, that was fantastic. And special thanks to Trent Williams and Mike Renner for coming on the show. It was a great show. Really enjoyed it. And next week is going to be even more interesting because on Monday of next week is when the tampering period, whatever that is, we'll get into it next week, where they can actually go out and start making deals with these free agents is going to start. And then on Wednesday, they're going to be able to sign them at like 4:00. But we do the show on Tuesday. So we will be doing a lot of speculating and a lot of talking about where Richard Sherman is going to be going, where he's going to be playing next season. It is live. It is real. Please join us next week on the podcast, along with Richard Sherman, the free agent.